Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America, and as far as memory goes back, I have never reviewed a craft beer from the state of Missouri, so we've got another first for you on the channel today. For this one we are going to go to St. Louis and we're having a taste of my first beer from Second Shift Brewing. So this one is the Art of Neurosis, one of the first beers they produced in fact. It's an IPA coming in at 7.6% and it's supposed to be pretty damn good actually. I don't know whether it's a New England one or a West Coast one. I like both, so we'll get a nice surprise when we open this one up. This was another beer, of course, that I bought from Glassbanken.sa, who have their warehouse over in Copenhagen in Denmark, and then they bring the beer into Sweden and send it to your mailbox, basically, thus getting around the Swedish state monopoly on alcohol. So you can always get some really interesting things on there. Check out the link in the description below, but you will pay Danish prices for them. And I did see this beer in Kiosk when I was over in Copenhagen as well. But yeah, always cool to try different beers from different states in America. I know that it's even difficult for people within America to get beers from their neighbouring state because of the different state laws and things like that, but most of the American beers that we get over here are you know, Californian or Coloradan beers, but you do get a few smutterings of other kind of things as well. So really looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Second Shift Brewing. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed. You'll find this beer in that list, and that's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then before we taste the beer. So as I mentioned to you earlier on, Second Shift Brewing are based in St. Louis, Missouri, and they were founded by Steve Kreider a good number of years ago. So Steve had a background as a machinist like his father and grandfather before him. He left school and within a month he was a machinist, and his grandfather actually previously worked for McConnell Douglas, who were one of the big aircraft manufacturers over in America. But one year back in 1999 he was gifted a home brewing kit for Christmas by his mother, and apparently by the following March he'd become a little bit obsessed and built himself a 35 litre or 10 US gallon system. But apparently he became, you know, really obsessed with just playing with recipes and stuff like that, and he was dumping out beer basically just because he wanted to brew a new batch. His beer was apparently very good, but he just threw it away because he and his friends couldn't drink it all at once. But after homebrewing for about 6 years, he started reading up on the business side of things with books from Brooklyn Brewing and from Dogfish Head as well. And he also took a 4-day course at Siebel Institute over in California, or is that the one in Chicago? Can't remember. But he took a 4-day course at the Siebel Institute about starting up his own brewery, and then he enrolled in the full course in February of 2008. But originally Steve wanted to open up a brew pub in St. Louis, but he found their original site at New Haven for very little cost, and he did a lot of the remodelling work himself, and he got the brewery up and running in 2010. From the early days, the brewery were very well known for this particular beer, the Art of Neurosis IPA, but they actually had major issues with hop contracts in the early days. They had no idea that you actually had to have contracts to get some of these different hops. So what he ended up doing was talking to the hop suppliers, and he created a whole bunch of different IPAs with the hops that they would actually let him buy. But they were also known for their Katie, which is a sour ale which uses Pediococcus and Brettanomyces lambicus as well, and they had a lot of, in the original brewery, they had a whole wall dedicated to aging this beer, and that's one of the ones that really helped them build their reputation. You have to say it's quite a brave move for them to use Pedio early on, because apparently if you get an infection in that, it's an absolute bastard to deal with, and I think it has actually shut down a few breweries. I think that's what happened to Stronzo over in Copenhagen. But a few years later, a few years into the brewery, Steve and Libby apparently met when Libby was working at the 33 Wine Bar back in 2012, and she's a trained wine sommelier as well. But when the relationship developed, she moved out to New Haven to help Steve expand the brewery, and she now deals with the business side of things as well. In 2017 they relocated to the Hill District in St. Louis, and they also have have their tap room there, which has 20 taps of beer at any one time, and they also serve what is called Guerrilla Street Food, which apparently is Filipino American as well. But if you check out the brewery website, they've got a whole list of different beers there that they do. You know, they do a whole host of different styles. They experiment with sours. They've got a hibiscus wit and things like that as well. So for a brewery that is, you know, still pretty tiny in the grand scheme of American craft beer, they are, you know, pretty adventurous with the different things that they do. And if you actually watch the videos of Steve Kreider, he seems like quite an interesting character. He was talking about how he views himself a little bit like a chef. You know, he doesn't really tinker so much with his recipes. He'd brew it and then just kind of know roughly what it was going to taste like and then put it out. It's quite an interesting one, that, and he just plays with his recipes a little bit like that way. He says he doesn't tinker with them too much. In the early days he was just brewing lots of different recipes and trying different things. So yeah, definitely an interesting character, one of the more eccentric people I think you're going to find in the craft beer industry over in America. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about the brewery for the moment. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and of course you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that'll keep you up to date with all the latest goings on. So let's get rid of the brewery notes then, and we'll get on to actually tasting this beer. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork then before we open it up. There you can see it's almost a little bit like a kind of stoned male version of Betty Boo or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what to make of that, but apparently, you know, the name of this beer comes from the fact that Steve was really just obsessed with brewing. So I was saying the art of Neurosis, that's where the name of this one comes from. But it says on the side here, Art of Neurosis is the first beer I made at the brewery. It's a hop sandwich brewed with Simcoe and Columbus hops, which are the greatest things in the world besides a good smack in the face. So yeah, interesting one, that. So this one is a 16 fluid ounce can, 1 US pint. In real people measurements, that is 473 millilitres. I really wish America would just use the metric system, but yeah, 473 millilitres, and yeah, this, as I say, this was a beer that I bought from glassmanken.se. So yeah, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So yeah, oh, it actually looks quite clear. I think this is going to be a West Coast IPA then. So a nice little surprise there. As I was saying, I've been missing my West Coast IPAs. So yeah, that looks absolutely lovely. Ooh. So as you can see with this one, it's poured a lovely, that's a really nice, rich, almost blood orange colour. That's a lovely, rich, blood orangey amber colour. You can see there's a solid 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of beigey fawn head on this one. I can smell some of these caramel malts coming out of this one already. I've really missed these West Coast IPAs. Everyone is doing the big hazy New England IPAs. Just always love it when you find beers like this. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see there is a degree of transparency to this one. There is a little bit of haze there, but of course you're not going to get anywhere near the level of haze with the West Coast IPAs that you're going to get from the New England ones. But a really nice looking beer, this one. 1 or 2 big bubbles of carbonation sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head. And you can see the head is gradually just kind of receding a little bit down into the glass. But yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, so it's got a lovely big malty quality to it, this one. I'll say as well, this beer isn't at its freshest. You can smell that the hops have dropped a little bit, but it should still be fine. It was fairly fresh when I actually picked it up. I've had it in the fridge for about 2 weeks now actually. But yeah, lovely big kind of caramel biscuity malt base to this one. You can smell a little bit of the bready quality in there, but the hops are still kind of jumping out at you with this beer. You can smell the nice passion fruity notes from the Simcoe. The Simcoe is a very straight up passion fruity hop for me, but from the floral aromatic side of things, the Columbus is a really distinctive hop. It's usually used as a base bittering hop because it has that very distinctive, slightly spicy, almost peppery spicy floral aromatic quality to it actually. So you can really smell that jumping out of this beer as well. There's a teensy little bit of earthiness to this one, but yeah, you can really smell, going from the aroma, there is a little touch of a, there is a little bit of a kind of slightly herbally thing going on in there as well, which is interesting. So yeah, you can tell with this beer a little bit that the hops have just dropped back a little bit, but it should still be perfectly fine to drink. you know, the guys at Glassbank are pretty good at looking after their beer. So this one, it is a little bit more of it's one of the more kind of grainy smelling West Coast IPAs that I've come across actually, so really interesting in that regard, but it kind of has everything you would want. It's got a little bit of a biscuity, caramelly note to it. It's quite a sweet caramel that comes out of it actually. It's got a little bit of a grainy base to it, definitely a little bit of bready character in there, nice slightly spicy floral aromatic notes coming out of it, very distinctive for the Columbus as I mentioned, and you've got those nice passion fruity notes from the Simcoe in there as well. So in terms of the aroma, nothing particularly surprising about this one when you consider that it's an IPA, and to me it leans a little bit towards the kind of malty side of things, but it does have a good juicy fruity quality and also a nice floral aromaticity to back that up as well. So yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it, but we're going to have a go at this one now and just see how we get on. So this is the Art of Neurosis, a 7.6% IPA from 2nd Street Brewing in St. Louis, Missouri. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål. Oh yeah. That's pretty nice. Yeah. That's a really solid West Coast IPA, this one. I like how everything is going together and it's got a nice little bit of bite to it, which is good. I really have been missing these more West Coasty type IPAs, and this one is pretty damn solid. If you get the chance to try this, have a go at it. Definitely one of the smaller Missouri breweries that you're going to come across from what I gather. The only other Missouri brewery that I can think of is Boulevard Brewing Company. That's the only one I've ever seen either in Scotland when I've been there, or in Sweden and Denmark when I've been over here. You know, it's interesting that it's one of these states where you just don't get things out of, but these guys sound like they are still pretty tiny. They're only brewing about 1,000 barrels or something like this. But yeah, this is a nice West Coast IPA. It has everything you want. I mean, it's not doing anything particularly surprising for the style, but it doesn't have to do that, you know, it just has to be really solid, in my opinion it is. So with this beer then, you can feel a little bit of that grainy quality just forming the linchpin of the beer. You can feel the middle of your palate just drying out a little bit the more and more that you drink of this one. On top of that, you get a little bit of a more smooth bready quality, and then in the centre of the palate, there is a bit of that kind of sweeter caramel, and there's got a little bit of a toasty note to it as well actually. It's almost a little touch toasty, and then you've got some of the more biscuity notes where you move out from the centre of the palate. It reminds me of a McVitie's digestive biscuit actually, or I should say cookie, since it's an American beer this one. But yeah, it's the malt base, again, it's fairly simple. To me it leans a little bit towards the grainy side of things. It almost reminds me a little bit of a kind of hedgehog bread. That's got a little bit of a well-fired crust to it. It does have a little bit of that sort of grainy character to it, but it really works for the beer actually. It's definitely one of the more grainy IPA malt bases that I've come across, especially from a West Coast IPA. It's got a little bit of sweetness there to kind of balance that out though, but it's a nice little touch that. I do like how it works out. But yeah, I do like how everything in this one is going together. So on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got that little touch of earthiness there, but as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you've got a nice little bit of that spicy floral aromatic note pushing its way out of the beer. And you know, Columbus is very, very distinctive in that way, just with that sort of almost peppery spiciness that the beer has. Round the very front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. But yeah, that's really very nicely done. The hoppy side of the beer, it has, as I say, this beer just has everything you want. A sweet malt base, nice little bit of spicy floral activity to it, and then you've got the nice juicy fruits in there as well. Behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll out onto the tongue. And for me, this one's got that nice, slightly darker, if you go towards the back of that, it's got that nice, slightly darker tropical fruity note, the passion fruit that I was talking about earlier on. Yeah, that's really nice actually. In terms of the rest of the fruity thing, it does almost feel like it's got a little bit of a tropical fruit complexity to it. I mean, it's the nice darker passion fruity notes at the back of the palate, but then as you move further forward it almost becomes a little touch like peachy or something, a little bit of a slightly peachy mango kind of thing towards the front of the tongue, and you do get a little bit of that lighter kind of grassy citrus there, which again will be from the Columbus. It almost tastes like, to me there's almost a little tiny hint of an orangey note to this one as well, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, it's really interesting how the fruity notes on this come out, because I've always found Simcoe to be very straight up in terms of its passion fruity note, but to get a little bit of that orangey note out of it is kind of interesting, because I have heard some people say that Simcoe gives you an orangey note, but I've always found it to be quite straight up and passion fruity. And I always like this when you find little nuances in different hops that you know quite well. One of the sad things actually is that Simcoe, it seems to have been replaced in a lot of European beers by Galaxy these days. You know, it was always Citra and Simcoe, or Citra and Amarillo. They were the big three hops, and it was all the American hops now. But now we've got Mosaic coming in from America, and you've got Galaxy from Australia, as well as other various things kind of jumping in. So it's nice to have a Simcoe beer again, and I think you have to go to the slightly older IPAs and stuff like that to still get some of the Simcoe things, but it's a hop that I really do still enjoy, so it's a shame that it's taken a little bit of a backseat to Galaxy these days. But overall, you know, this beer works out really nicely. It doesn't do anything surprising with the style, but it's just a very, very solid IPA. This one a little bit more malty, I think, than some of the other ones I've come across, but it does have that good hoppy bitterness just to back that up. So yeah, lovely beer this one. Have a go at this for yourself if you do get the chance. Like I say, it's available in Kiosk in Copenhagen, and also at Glassbanken.se if they still have any left. But yeah, on the mouthfeel side of things then, mid-bodied beer, no doubt in my mind about that. Carbonation is fairly smooth on this one. It does have a little bit of a prickle, but you've got a nice oily mouthfeel to this one. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness. I think we're talking around 70-ish IBUs, maybe 60-70 IBUs in this beer. Nice balance between smoothness and sweetness in the malt base. It's got a little bit of a toasty character in there as well, but it does have a little bit of a graininess that you'll notice the further you go into the aftertaste, and it's got some nice juicy but also kind of oily fruits to it as well. So overall, a really, really nice West Coast style IPA, this one. Very, very solid, and hopefully I can try more beers from this brewery in the future, but regardless, it's cool to be able to do even one review from them. So maybe I'll need to get out to Missouri, visit my friends and check out this brewery. That would be an interesting trip. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the Art of Neurosis, a 7.6% West Coast style IPA with some lovely kind of passion fruity Simcoe notes in it, from 2nd Street Brewing in St. Louis, Missouri. A lovely beer this, and I do hope that I can review some more Missouri beers for you soon. A shout out to all my guys that I met from Missouri when I was in Leiden in the Netherlands. A shout out to you guys if you are watching this video. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from 2nd Shift Brewing. And hopefully we can return to these guys at some point in the future. But it's been cool to review this one for you, and I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on it. So as always, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media and have a taste at some of these beers, and do let me know some other Missouri beers and breweries that I should be checking out. Until the next time, Slanger just now, and I'll catch you guys later. The Art of Neurosis IPA from 2nd Shift Brewing over in St. Louis, Missouri. Slanger, skull.